Hello and welcome to Business Incorporated Live on Channels Television. Here's what's coming up in the next 55 minutes. We'll analyze revenue generation by the Vehicle Inspection Service in Lagos and what motorists can expect. And South Africa's consumer confidence plunged to the lowest level in almost 2 years. Plus, Kenyans borrow 500 million Kenyan shillings daily from mobile loans. It's great to have you join us. I'm Ladi Williams. Let's get a check on what's playing out with markets that we track now. Starting with the metals market, we see gold prices edging higher today amid persistent uncertainty over impending reciprocal U.S. tariffs and their impact on the global economy. And we see that playing out with spot gold there, down 0.10%, still holding on to that $3,000 psychological level. U.S. gold futures, that's unchanged, $3,015. Spot silver, that's up 0.20%. Silver outshining the metals that we track at this point, $33.04. Platinum, that's holding on down 0.10%. Palladium unchanged, $951. We see U.S. President Donald Trump said not all of these threatened levies would be imposed on April 2nd, and some countries may get breaks. The market expects Trump's tariffs to hinder economic growth. And to the oil market now, see oil prices, they're up for a fifth day, and concerns global supply will tighten after the tariff issues there. $73.41 a barrel. That's what we have for Brent, 0.56% up. WTI trying to get back above that $70 level. It's holding on $69.45 a barrel, 0.49%. Let's see if it breaks 70 again. Both benchmarks gained more than 1% in the previous session after U.S. President Donald Trump announced a 25% tariff on countries importing oil and gas from Venezuela. Oil is Venezuela's main export, and they export mostly to China at this point, which is already subject to U.S. tariffs as its largest buyer. And to other stories now, U.S. jet fuel imports are poised to reach a 2-year high in March, driven by shipments from Nigeria's Dangote refinery to North America. This influx is expected to help lower aviation fuel prices ahead of the busy summer travel season. And we see the deliveries from the Dangote refinery, which has a capacity of 650,000 barrels per day, is Africa's largest, underscoring its growing role in global fuel trading. And the Association of Nigerian Women Business Network believes that the International Celebration of Women should be exhibited through empowerment of owners of small businesses. This is the approach they've adopted for 2025, giving enlightenment to their members and non-members through a 7-week training. Take a listen.
Even as the month of March draws to a close, the celebration of women is still on the mind of many. One of them is the Association of Nigerian Women Business Network, and their focus is economic empowerment for entrepreneurs.
The theme of this year's celebration, Accelerate Action, resonates deeply with us as women entrepreneurs as we strive to accelerate our businesses, our careers, and our impact on the world. As we celebrate International Women's Day, we recognize the progress we have made in our various endeavors, but we also acknowledge the challenges that still lie ahead. We know that women continue to face barriers to equality, justice, and economic empowerment. But we also know that together we can overcome these challenges and create a brighter future for ourselves.
For the network, accelerating action means training them on how to practice bookkeeping and other forms of strategies for their businesses. It's also to set the women right for achievement and access to fund.
They are pitching their businesses. There are investors here, there are banks here, and there are grants. Those that are able to scale through will be given grants here today. And that's what we're talking about. When you empower a woman, you are not just empowering an individual. You are empowering her family, you are empowering her community, and by extension, you are empowering nation. And that's what we are calling on everyone to do, especially our government. Beyond just talking, let's do. Let's be practical about it.
Calls to empower women are not new. While it seems to be catching on, the gap for empowerment and recognition still remains.
All right, now to our first conversation. In Lagos, the Vehicle Inspection Office plays a crucial role in ensuring road safety and enforcing traffic regulations. However, the fines imposed on defaulters have been a subject of controversy, with many motorists complaining about the perceived harshness of the penalties. As 2025 progresses, it's essential to examine the current fine structure and how it affects motorists, and what measures can be taken to promote compliance and fairness. Well, let's have this discussion now with Engineer Akin George Fashel, as the Director of Lagos State Vehicle Inspection Services. Great to have you on the show.
Good afternoon, how are you?
Good afternoon, I'm fine. So, definitely, looking at the role, your office plays, it's definitely very, very important. And, as a motorist, myself, you're driving by and you see maybe defaulters, complaining about being caught, but at the end of the day, it's the law, you have to pay a fine. So what have you seen so far, in respect to, revenue generated by your agency in, say, 2024? How's it been?
Okay, so I don't measure my success, or we don't measure our success based on the revenue generated. Is the KPIs for that is the amount of reduction we have been able to do in terms of safety aspect of it. So, of course, like anything else in the state, if you feel aggrieved in any way, there's always channels for that that to be addressed. We take it on an individual basis based on evidence. If a camera catches you, we provide the evidence, and it's for you to challenge it and say it's not me. And we look at the mitigating factors. And but it has been my experience 9 times out of 10. If you are charged,
they're mostly guilty.
Yeah, mostly guilty. But there have been occurrences where there's a legitimate complaint, and we've addressed it accordingly. Machines are not fallible, so to speak. But for the most part, 95% of the time, they're always on the money.
Well, some would say, even if they're wrong, they make some kind of offense, on the road. They'll say, this is maybe my first time, making such an offense, and you expect some kind of leniency and maybe go and sin no more. But it seems the officers are mostly about getting the money.
That's not true. Like I said earlier, we do it on a case-by-case basis. Depending on the case you put up, we will look at it on the value of what you put up. And if it is your first time, like indeed you say, I'll give you a case in point. I've been out of town, just got back, driving to renew my documents for my vehicles. Camera caught me. Depends on how you present that case. Do I genuinely believe that you were just coming back? Anybody can tell me I just came back. Okay, so sometimes vehicle owners go the extra step, bring their passport, will show, they just got stamped in, things like that. We'll take it on a case-by-case basis. It's never about revenue. It's about protecting road users because it's a shared asset. Case in point, we just started speed cameras in the state. So, you need to be mindful of your speed. It's not that we're looking to punish anybody, but certain mitigating factors dictates that we adhere to speed limits in certain areas of the state to bring down the possibility of accidents, reduce the fatalities and whatnot. So those are criteria we have.
Yeah, I like when I see those speed limits.
Those are criteria.
I don't like to drive really fast.
And you have to agree with me. There are some places where just vehicle owners are just way too fast, and we need to reduce that speed accordingly. So that's what it is.
All right. So from what you've seen so far, how difficult is it, or is it getting easier? Managing traffic in Lagos.
It's 50-50. Okay, so people are adhering to the tech that we're bringing on board to help ease the burdens, but it takes a while for it to filter through. Because I get a lot of, oh, I didn't know this was going on, which is why we always continually address the media, put notations out, so that people are aware this is what is going on in the state, and for this particular purpose. So I'd say it's 50-50. We've seen a significant reduction in violations, but also you have to be cautious of the fact that a lot of vehicles also come from out of states, particularly in Lagos State. They come in, do what they got to do, and they breathe out. So do they know? That's questionable, but we'll continue to do the advocacy as necessary to make sure that everybody knows. I think over a period of time, the knowledge will come through that you can't do this, there are restrictions here and there, and then we'll move forward.
All right, let's look at wait times now, because when you're trying to get to your roadworthiness, you have to, get to the office there, and some have complained about having to stay in line for a long time.
Okay.
Like, it depends on which branch, you're going to, but I think the one at Ojodu, I hear...
Heavily.
Yeah, people wait for like 8 a.m., they're there till about 2 p.m., and that's man hours being wasted there.
Okay, so that in particular is one of the things that we're trying to educate and deal with holistically. And that is predicated on the fact that the way the state is structured, in the morning people migrate to a certain area of the state because of work, and in the evening they migrate to a certain area of work. Ikeja and Lagos Island are the most congested areas in the state at any one given time. So places like Ojodu that you mentioned, because a lot of our business activities happens in the Ikeja area, and it's one of our biggest facilities, everybody wants to come there. Even though you are scheduled a time and a slot, irregardless, they still want to come. Or I'll just go there, see if they can.
Is that like the best branch?
It's not the best branch, but it is one of the biggest, and it's close to most businesses, most facilities. So vehicle owners feel, let me take the advantage of the fact that it's right there. I can just pop in and pop out. I have 35 centers littered across the states that people don't even go to. So we're working on a model to make that as essentially, different from what it used to. So like now we are offering online registration for renewal of your roadworthiness. What that does is, I don't really need you to come to the office to say...
I don't have to bring the car there.
No, hold on.
Okay.
You still have to bring the car regardless.
Okay.
But I'm going to let you choose time, place, venue that's convenient for you within the given time frame to take that vehicle, so you don't congest one place. So by you, as it is now, when you register your intention to do roadworthiness, a computer gives you the venue, gives you the time slot based on what is available. But now I want you to choose. You will choose the time, you will choose the place, you will choose the area that you want to go to that is convenient.
So I don't have to go to the Ojodu branch and spend 6 hours trying to...
That's what we're trying to get at.
Okay.
So that also leaves you to do other things. I don't necessarily have to have you come into one of the physical offices. It's not necessary, when you can sit by your phone or your desk or your computer and just do it. Okay. You pay the appropriate fee. There's no third party involved. You can see all the centers, the time slots, the availability, and then you pick. So those are one of the things that tech is. So
you don't have to go to the Ojodu branch.
No, please no.
All right, so let's look at fines now.
Yes.
For the faulters. I believe if you don't have your papers,
yes.
Right, it's about 20,000.
It is 20,000
per paper.
Yes.
So definitely some would say it's high.
Well, I don't make the rules in regards to that. That's a state law. And actually, it's a deterrent. It's not to generate revenue. Let me let people understand something. So if you do what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it, how you're supposed to do it, you're not paying a dime to anybody, not the states, not nobody. So the fines are a deterrent to stop people from doing things they are not supposed to do. I mean, Lagos State doesn't wake up at the end of the year and say, okay, I'm going to make a projection. I want to collect 50 billion in fines for next year. Nobody does that. A fine is as a result of you being negligent one way or the other. The blame is yours. It's not anybody else's. And like I said, it's a deterrent for you not to do it because everything that a motorist uses, except for the car itself, is a shared asset amongst everybody. So we need to protect everybody involved. Safety, security, all that.
All right. Do you think, when it comes to the officers now,
yes,
can they be more proactive, when it comes to not letting or allowing people, break the traffic laws, or just stand by and wait till it's broken?
That's a good question. Okay, so yes and no. There are sometimes, depending on you as a vehicle owner, the manner in which you approach an officer, if he's found you wanting already, he's going to respond to you depending on how you respond to him. He's there to do a job, one. Secondly, he can choose to caution you based on your behavior, right? So there are some offenses that are not cautionable. It's just a straight offense. But, like a documentation, oh, sir, I understand this time. I'm going to take your word for it, but please don't let me apprehend you next time. Go and fix your papers. You can go. That depends on how you interact with him. And, I'm not saying that they're going to be nice to you all the time, because what we have found in time past is that recurrent offenders, they do it deliberately, thinking they will not get caught. So some people, it is when you catch them that they show. If you don't catch them, they will continue to violate that law over and over and over. We've apprehended so many people. In 5 years, they haven't gotten one documentation. In 5 years. How is that? That has to be...
Is it too expensive for
them? No. Okay, so most of the time, one fine of 20,000 can advocate for the documents that you're supposed to have.
All of the documents?
All of the documents, except for insurance, and that being the fact that it has gone up recently. Other than that, if you look at it holistically, roadworthiness, vehicle license, at best, without the insurance, roadworthiness, vehicle license for most cars is about 11,000 naira per year for private citizens. For commercial, that's twice a year because they are commercial. They're deemed to earn money from that. So, you look at it holistically, it just doesn't add up.
So, after paying all of this,
yes,
what does the motorist get?
What do you mean, what do they get?
Because, you pay for the registration,
yes,
and all of that, you renew.
Yes.
Every year. What are we getting?
Okay,
motorists?
Fantastic. So every document that accompanies a car has what I call a means to an end. Your vehicle license is a road tax to help the state fix roads. So is your roadworthiness certification as well, part of it at least. That is also to help you and help the state make sure that that vehicle that you're driving is also safe. Since we've been doing computer testing, I cannot tell or stress the amount of times we have shown vehicle owners the condition of their cars that is about to fall apart. Mind I add to that, they see the benefits of the investment in that process. So it's not just, okay, give me your money and come and collect the roadworthiness certificate. No, actually, we showcase the optimal condition of your car as at that time. You see, and so it even gives you a better understanding when you are conversing with your mechanic on maintenance of your vehicles. You are in a position of knowing, like, I know the condition
Yeah,
of the car.
I know what part I need.
Exactly.
You don't add.
Don't add and don't take away from it.
Right.
Just do. So there's value added in that aspect, and we'll continue to add value. Even with the CNG vehicles that are being converted now, we are going into that mode too, where we offer safety advocacy around the whole installation of CNG in your car. So it's always a win-win situation.
Win-win for us. All right. Definitely, we hope for the best, going forward, and we don't have more defaulters.
No, we're not
in
looking.
2025.
We're not looking for defaulters.
Right.
We're looking for willful compliance. Part of the job is to bring down the numbers of compliance, and actually, we're in the business of saving lives. So it's not about revenue generation. No, not at all.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. It was great having you.
Break
it all down for us, Engineer Akin George Fashola, Director, Lagos State Vehicle Inspection Services. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll look at the global furniture market. That's in a moment. Just stay with us. All right, so see, the global furniture market is a thriving industry projected to reach $650 billion by 2025. Well, Nigeria, with its vast population, growing middle class, and rich cultural heritage, presents a lucrative opportunity for furniture manufacturers and exporters. However, the country's furniture industry faces significant challenges, including limited access to finance, inadequate infrastructure, and intense competition from imported furniture. Well, joining us now to have this conversation, we have Victor Chibike, the MD, Bimadu Group. It was great having you here today.
It's a pleasure being here as well.
Yeah, so definitely we have some wood in here. But, looking at the global furniture market, so far, what trends have you seen in the first quarter of 2025? I know we had a conversation, I think, towards last year.
Yes.
And you did give some projections. What are you seeing play out so far in the market globally?
Thank you once again for having me. The trends I observed in the first quarter of this year is, high rise of automation. With the current development in the artificial intelligence industry, there'll be much more automation in the way furniture is being produced, and also the businesses are going digital, and people now have much more access to buy their furnitures online. Also, with the usage of 3D, people have the ability to see their furnitures, see their spaces even before it is being brought into reality, even before it's been constructed. And Africa, if the game is being played right, we are most likely to be a force to reckon with in this furniture industry.
Right, yes, and would you say, our carpenters are getting better with what you've seen so far? Because, everyone's trying to, get exports out, so we can get that, good foreign currency, into the country. Which regions or countries do you think are leading, right now when it comes to export?
Okay, now our carpenters are getting extremely good. Nigeria have very, very innovative and hardworking people, and we tend to lead in any industry we tend.
And I see female carpenters now.
Of course, yes. It's a good thing that our women are contributing in this industry. Yes, our carpenters are having international trainings. They are leaving the country, getting to know the updated ways of which furnitures can be done faster, easier, and also catching up with the trend, because we are now a globalized world where people in Nigeria could love the Spanish theme or the Chinese theme and stuff like that. So they are at the forefront of it. And as pertaining to region, every region in Nigeria has their own theme, right? There was a trend I saw on Instagram, and they put two people's house, and one had this royal furniture and one had this minimalist furniture, and the thing was that guess which one was owned by an Igbo man, right? So people could all tell that there's this trend, especially in the Southeast, where they have this royal furniture.
When I watch Nigerian movies back then, when it's like an Igbo family, they have some kind of furniture.
Yeah, you could tell, yeah, indeed, yeah. So that's the reality. Nigerians. If the game is being played right, and of which I believe with the advent of the new generation of carpenters, we will definitely lead in this industry.
So what opportunities are you seeing right now in the market that producers can tap into to get their products out to the world?
Okay. First off, we can look. Due to the large markets, Nigeria is the desired market for nations like China, India, Vietnam, Italy, and Germany, right? They see the Nigerian market, due to our high population, as a good market they can come into, and as Nigerian carpenters or those in the furniture industry, we can see partnership with them as a very, very good. Rather than them importing it, we can create their furniture theme with our wood, thereby allowing Nigerians to enjoy that set theme of the international world with our local materials. And also, African free trade allows Nigerians to export their furnitures, a little bit more easily. And yes, and
because I've seen the prices of imported furniture, it is not cute
yeah, of course.
At all. We're seeing those prices definitely due to the currency devaluation. You're having to pay over $1 million,
yes.
For quality furniture,
yes.
Imported.
Yeah.
So, what do you think, the government, should be doing, right now to actually support the industry so that we produce more furniture here instead of importing?
Okay. Now, in that light, the government can give tax incentive, because doing that, the carpenters would be able to save cost in that aspect, and then the government can also have training sessions whereby they bring international specialists in this field to train our local carpenters. The government can also provide adequate infrastructure like sustainable light, and good road, especially for logistics. According to the research done by World Bank, the Nigerian economy loses over $15 to $20 billion due to poor roads and unsustainable and unstable electricity. And in the furniture space alone, as a section, Nigeria loses $2 to $3 billion yearly because of poor infrastructure. So if the government can come into play and solve those problems, I believe it will be beneficial not only to the Nigerian people but to Nigeria as a country.
Right. And do you think renewable energy could help? When it comes to furniture production, in the country, and I'm sure it needs a lot of power.
Of course.
Do you think sustainable, renewable energy is an option?
Renewable energy is the future. Actually, you would understand that one of the trends in real estate is smart cities, solar cities, nuclear cities, right? It's the future because the resources on Earth, the natural resources on Earth, like the coal and the petroleum, they are finite, right? And they are limited. But the things that are unlimited and given freely without worried about it being exhausted are the renewable energies, like the solars and the nuclear and the likes of them. So having that is going to not only going to be sustainable for the planet as a whole, but it's going to help us reduce cost if we do it well.
Right. And it'd be great to see, fantastic revenue coming from, furniture exports,
Yes.
From Nigeria, from Africa. We're definitely hoping for that time.
Yeah.
So we can keep our currency,
Yeah.
strong at this time. But thank you so much. Victor Chibike is the Managing Director of Bimadu Group. Always great having you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, we'll take a break now. When we come back, we're heading straight to the markets, find out how your money is performing in our local bourse and most of the international markets that we track. That's in a moment. Just stay with us. All right, let's head to the markets now. We have Anita there with the details of what's playing out with the local bourse and international markets. Great to have you, Anita. We had that nice little bump there for the NGX, but I don't know if that's following up today.
Well, Ladi, I have it here. The last count that I had is that the all-share index yesterday closed at about 105,551.39 points. And so, which means that it was a gain starting the final week of March in the gain. And of course, we know that when we had that report that United Bank of Africa, that's UBA, reported
that was quite
impressive full-year results.
That was quite interesting.
And the banks also followed, so that was one of the reasons why we saw that rally. But if we take a look at the screen there, you see that there's a slight pullback.
Right.
They have it on the screen. So initially, it closed on Monday at about 105, like I mentioned, 555 something thereabout. But at intraday, this was just about about an hour ago. The market is still seeing some bearish sentiment there, maybe the impact of profit taking then. But we'll still look out for how the market ends Tuesday's trading session.
Right, definitely looking out for that.
But I think our analysts will talk more about that and give us an insight into what to expect into the day's performance. So, all right, let's talk about the market in full. We see that the markets, that's the domestic stock markets, the performance has dropped to about increased actually to about 2.55%. But if you take a look at this, it's still going back and forth, back and forth. Month to date is about it is moderated to about minus 2.1%. It was down by about 2.5%. But the losses so far, the month of March, not being too good for our stock market, no thanks to the impact of profit taking. But we saw out of what we call the FUGAs, we had the UGAs, which is UBA, GTCO, Access Bank, and Zenith Bank, making an impressive performance for the close of Monday's trading session. But so far, the market is in the red as we speak. And then for the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, that's the lone gainer there, 89,411.38 points. And the index is up by 0.48% at intraday. But for the other two markets that we have here, we see that the EGX, surprisingly, the EGX has also made some positive imprint there, 0.13%, and also breaking into the 31,000 level, slowly climbing into the 32,000 level. But for the close of Monday, we see the Nairobi Stock Exchange making a slight pullback there, 0.36%. Initially, the market index had climbed to about 130.04% for Monday, but let's just say that the bulls couldn't hold on to the gains that was recorded for Monday. So that's a wrap for the market. Now let's talk more about Nigeria's stock market, and this time we'll be looking deeper into UBA's full year 2024 results, the reactions that we had. What impact has it had on the market, and how are its peers, relating or reacting, or what are the expectations from its peers, whether from the first tier or the second tier? And we have Nabila Mohammed, financial market analyst with Chapel Hill, Denham, to tell us more about that. Thank you for joining us, Nabila.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon.
Okay, so now let's start. A first point of call, UBA, that impressive market number, which is actually its highest. So now tell us, on Monday we saw that market behemoth making that imprint, but so far, how are investors reacting at the moment? Is there still like a hangover of that performance that we saw on Monday?
We're definitely seeing some positive sentiments even across the other banking units because this is the week that we expect them to release their results, given that it is the last week or the final week of March 2025, and they are all expected to publish their financials before the end of or before the start of the new quarter. So there is that market expectation of dividend announcement, strong results, of course, and that's what we saw with DB's results yesterday. And on the back of that, we saw them announce a dividend of 3 naira per share. Now, if we add that to the interim dividend that they initially paid, which was 2 naira, that will come to a dividend yield of around 13.1%. That's on target on the price of yesterday. So there is that anticipation, and if we're even looking at intraday activities currently, we see that most of the banking names are up either by 32 basis points, like GT. Intraday, we're seeing Zenith as well also up. We've also seen the likes of FDNA also up with 70 basis points. So all these are positive sentiment on the back of the expectation that there's going to be announced strong results and also announced dividends that would be mouth-watering to investors. So there is that sentiment. But if we look at the overall market, like the ASI itself, the banking stocks are not the only stocks that are in the market. There are other stocks as well that are either moving up or down. And what we notice is that RRDL intraday is currently down, and it's largely, I think, as a result that we're seeing that the ASI is down intraday. Otherwise, the sentiment across the banking stocks is positive, largely positive on the back of the anticipated results and dividend announcements that will follow.
Okay, so let's still dwell on the banking stocks. With this, the anticipation of other bank big names such as GTCO, Access Bank, First Bank. So how, with the macroeconomic realities that pervaded the whole of 2024, what is your outlook for the results ahead of the release?
So the outlook for the results definitely would see some level of strong interest income. We see net interest margins touching highs in the past 5 years, largely as a result of how the interest rate environment was favorable to them. Now, we may also see impairments, maybe all those areas of asset quality being affected. And it is not far-fetched from the fact that the macroeconomic environment last year was such that it was customers had it difficult to service their obligations. So we may see some level of a slight spike in non-performing loans or even an increase in cost of risk. That's just speaking to balance sheet related ratios. So that is really what we are expecting. But overall, we are expecting a very strong result from them, and we are expecting dividend announcements. Mind you, some of the banks have actually completed their capital raise, like Access and Zenith. Those two already completed theirs last year. So we'll see how it will play out or translate to dividend payments for them. We still have the likes of UBA, FDNA that still have to do something to meet up with the requirements. But all in all, if we're speaking to performance, we're expecting strong results across board.
Nabila, and I'm sure with your analysis, lots of investors will be keeping an eye on their investment, particularly those who have their holdings in bank stocks. But thank you so much for your time and for that analysis.
Thank you for having me.
That was Nabila Mohammed, financial markets analyst with Chapel Hill Denham for the market numbers at intraday. Okay, let's talk about the Middle East market. We see that only the Dubai index is the lone gainer for the Middle Eastern region. The market's trading at intraday up by a tad, 0.03% there. But its other twin there, the Abu Dhabi index, both on the United Arab Emirates, is down 0.29%. But talking about the United Arab Emirates, we heard that the country's central bank has launched a brand new $100 dirham polymer note, which includes landmarks that promote cultural past, present, and future of the country. So, and at the same time, yes, the markets across the Middle East, most of them are Muslim countries, so they're gearing up for the for the Muslim holiday. So we hear that the Dubai's Emirates has added about 17 flights to for the travel. So there's a surge. So that's going to impact on some of the components which are listed on the both on the Dubai or the Abu Dhabi. But the Emirates airline, which is government owned, well, it's not quoted there, but that's one of the airlines which is set to carry much of the passengers. They're expecting about over 371,000 passengers during the holiday period. So we see how that will reflect. But this market will be closed after Thursday for a 4-day Eid al-Fitr holiday, which will be commencing from Sunday in the coming week, over the weekend. Okay, let's talk about the other markets. Well, we're talking about the U.S. markets now. In terms of the U.S. markets, the stock futures there dropped after the major averages posted a back-to-back gain. So we see the Dow Jones Industrial Average down by 0.08%, the S&P 500 down by just a little over 1%, and NASDAQ futures down by 0.06%. This is coming as investors are awaiting the consumer index, which is slated to be released later today, and also assessing U.S. President Trump's tariff policy, the reciprocal tariffs, which is kicking in next week.
Yeah, all about Trump and tariffs at this point. We'll keep checking it.
Call him Mr. Tariff.
Mr. Tariff, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Anete, for the details there, what's playing out in those markets. Well, let's take it on to Europe now. Europe is making progress on its way to electric mobility. Latest sales figures show that battery-driven cars are increasing their market share. Just one brand is not partaking in the upside trend. That's Tesla. As Holters with DW and joins us now. Great to have you, Lars. So how big is Tesla's problem in Germany?
Yeah, hi, Ladi. Thanks for having me again. Tesla seems to have a tremendous problem indeed, not only in Germany, but pretty much around the globe. But let me give you some numbers here just out of Germany. In January, Tesla sales here dropped by 59% over last year. And now the latest numbers for February, they're even worse. The drop even steeper, down 79% over the previous year's February. But like I said, it's really not just Germany. Tesla sales in the EU are down 50% over those last few months as well, over the past 2 months specifically. The company's market share has now dropped to 1.1%, and that is something given how Tesla had always been seen as a trailblazer, was a chic and trendy brand. It was the hottest electric vehicle really on the market. And then, of course, Tesla CEO Elon Musk, he got into politics. He went rogue, one should say, maybe. And for the last couple of months now, we don't even know whether he's just the radical enforcer of Donald Trump's reckless policies or if he's the mastermind. One thing is clear, Musk is extremely unpopular around the world, and people don't want to associate with his brand anymore.
Oh, that's quite interesting. But what are you hearing from, Tesla owners in Germany? How are they dealing with the brand's new image?
Well, Adi, the thing I really enjoyed was seeing a guy who came up with a car sticker. It says, "I bought this car before Elon went crazy," and he's actually selling them online now with quite some success. Lots of people obviously still driving their Tesla. Obviously, most people can't afford to simply switch and buy a new car for political reasons, but at least they're making it clear that they've had a change of mind. But what might be even worse for Tesla, many companies who had Teslas in their corporate fleet have also distanced themselves from the brand. We've seen similar action, of course, in the past with companies trying to avoid political controversy. And in this case now, we have statements from all sorts of companies, from a drugstore chain, from several energy providers, actually from a whole lot of companies who have taken Tesla out of consideration for their fleets. And these are often big fleets with hundreds or maybe even thousands of cars. So losing this customer base is a huge problem for any car maker.
All right, but I see Kathy Wood is still quite bullish on the stock. She says it could hit over $2,000 in 5 years. But what are investors looking at in today's markets in Europe?
Well, I'm not really sure what they're looking at or what they're seeing. I'm surprised myself a little bit. The market up right now pretty strongly, actually. DAX up more than 1%. However, it's actually been quite a change lately in Frankfurt. There was that celebratory mood for weeks with the DAX in this never-ending rally. But of course, there is no such thing, Ladi, as a never-ending rally. It seems to be actually very near its end. We got news from the US again now. Yesterday, it looked like there was a good chance that President Trump's import taxes on German cars might not be coming. And now it suddenly seems like they are actually coming and starting next week. So that's bad. Then there's Trump's oil threat, very recent now. He says that every country that buys oil from Venezuela will be targeted by him with tariffs on their entire US business. Now, that of course is helping oil stocks, but since it pushes up oil prices generally, it's just not a great news for the market. So I'm a little bit surprised to see the DAX up. Of course, we had some strong sentiment data coming again this morning for the German economy, but to be quite honest, that's not entirely new data. We're hearing that kind of sentiment data on and on over the last couple of weeks. But then again, investors are just making the best out of it. Like I said, the DAX up more than 1% right now.
Yeah, investors making the best out of the situation at this point. But thank you so much, Lance Holter, for giving us details from Europe.
Yeah, thank you, Ladi.
All right, to other stories now. We see Kenyan borrowers are taking out about 500 million Kenyan shillings daily in digital loans, amounting to about 15 billion Kenyan shillings monthly. A new report by Digital Financial Services Association of Kenya highlighted the increasing reliance on mobile loans among Kenyans, with over 8 million active borrowers, which is equivalent to 16% of the country's population. All right, let's get a check on what's playing out in the crypto market now. We're seeing some red on the screen at this point, with Bitcoin holding up at $87,211, now 0.3%. From that big jump we saw coming into Monday, but we're seeing profit taking. That seems to be happening at this point. Ethereum, that's $2,062, 1.07% down. So we're seeing downward movement in the Tuesday trade there in the crypto market. I wonder what's driving that. But we'll definitely, it's been quite an interesting first quarter for the crypto market. We'll find out what to expect going forward. Gilbert Jokpata, team lead, Investors Law, joins me now. Hello, Gilbert. Great to have you. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, Mr. Ladi. Great to be here.
So as the first quarter of 2025 is wrapping up, how have macroeconomic factors like the tariffs and potential rate cuts, how's that influenced the crypto market, in your opinion, especially the post-Bitcoin halving?
Okay, so the Bitcoin halving cycle is still in play. You know, historically, Bitcoin used to follow a 4-year cycle driven by its halving event. So the last halving event we had was in April 2000, which is April last year, which means that we are still in the post-halving bull phase, rather than the beginning of a prolonged bear market. But then I still know that this is more like a short-term bear market. I think it's right to call it, as well as I may call it a short-term down sell-off. But then there is something I want us to see in perspective. It's more like Trump versus Powell. This is more like a high-stakes standoff because, you know, after Donald Trump secured the election, he was eager to accelerate economic growth, and he believed that lowering interest rates will be key to achieving this. And then he publicly called the Federal Reserve and said, look, it's time we cut rates. However, Jerome Powell, the Federal Reserve chair, still maintained interest rates, citing concerns of economic instability. So this is it. Donald Trump is a capitalist. He's a capitalist. Since he was frustrated, he decided it's time to go for trade war. And we know that trade war is inflationary. And so he started targeting Canada, Mexico, China, and then imposed this tariff on them. So I remember there was an interview he had about some weeks ago, and he was asked, is there a chance that we will be pushed into a recession? And he was like, I'm not taking off the chances of a recession. This is a president saying this, and we understand Donald Trump is a capitalist. So I think this is more like a face-off. And this is a game happening, a mental game happening between Donald Trump and Jerome Powell. And I think this is going to be a game of who is going to blink first. Is it going to be Donald Trump who will say, look, I think that this trade war is becoming more inflationary and I have to stop this? Or will it be a Joe Powell who will be like, oh, I just think it's high time we start cutting rates so that, we'll have calms in the market.
Right, and I definitely wonder what role Bitcoin plays, in a trade war at this point, or just, acting as a regular asset at this point. But with the rise of new altcoin, narratives, are we seeing a shift in market dynamics? What key trends are you expecting coming up in this in the second quarter?
Okay, so Bitcoin is more like the reserve currency and long-term store of value in the market. And actually, you can't really go wrong with Bitcoin, if you buy for the long term. But then there have been some major shifts, in the market, which we've never seen before. I think one was the AI-powered blockchain project and also the real-world asset tokenization. We also had BlackRock and major institutional investors moving also into this kind of infrastructure. Unlike the past cycle we had, where meme coin just entirely dominated the market. Yeah, we had a very fair share of the meme coin, this phase. But then I think AI-powered AI agents and also reward asset tokenization had a very fair share. And then I think that once this, sell-off is entirely over, because I still think that we will have some rate cuts this year. After when all this is said and done, I think that more institutional inflow is going to push towards AI-powered blockchain, real-world asset tokenization. And yes, I still think that some meme will do well, but I think that some investors will be a little bit snake bite careful about meme. But then there are some persons who are degen who I know will always stay in that game. But then I think that liquidity of value this time around is going to stay with assets that really have more like value, economic value in the marketplace.
All right, it's been definitely a very dramatic first quarter of 2025. We'll see if the drama continues, going into the second quarter. Thank you so much, Gilbert Jopata, Team Lead, Investor Launch. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, so that's it today. That's how the markets are looking. We'll give you a sneak peek on what's going to play out tomorrow on most of our shows, 10 a.m., 1 p.m. You get all the details before you make that investment decision. Thank you for watching. I'm Ladi Williams from the team right here at Channels HQ. It's bye for now.